Hey guys, Mr. Jalapeno here with another little DIY. And on today's project, I'm going to show you how I painted this brand new interior door here in the laundry room. There's a few different ways you could paint the door. You could either spray it with a spray gun, roll it, or brush it. For this one, the homeowner just wanted us to use the paint roller. So what you're going to want to do first is lay down some plastic, make sure you cover the floor, and then also use some blue tape to cover the hinges. I also like to take off the striker plate, the door handles, and the dead latch. This is just going to make it way easier for when you're rolling on the paint. So I do strongly recommend to take off the hardware. And after you do that, it's time to cover up all the holes from the brad nailer. And the product I like to use to cover up the holes is called painter's putty. This stuff works really good. You could also use wood putty, but that takes a while to dry. With this painter's putty, I don't have to wait too long before I paint, so I really like that. I just apply it and sand it down. You could also use a putty knife. You don't necessarily need to use the sanding block. I just think it looks a little bit smoother when you use the sanding block. That painter's putty is also really good for filling up those miter cuts on the casing. And after all the holes have been filled, I like to sand the door with the 220 grit sanding paper. And now it's caulk time. And as you see right here, I'm caulking that gap where the casing meets the wall. Luckily, the wall color and the trim color are the same. If the wall was a different color, then I would recommend to tape off the wall. That way you get those nice straight lines. But since it's the same color, it should be fine. I'm also going to caulk where the casing and the doorstop meet the door frame. And whenever you're caulking, just make sure to have a wet rag on you. That way you can remove the excess caulking and you don't make a mess everywhere. As you see right here, I'm just kind of removing that excess caulking, making sure everything's nice and smooth. Look at that. Now the door is prepped and ready for paint. Most of the time, the paint the homeowners have isn't in the greatest shape. Sometimes it has dirt, dried paint in it. But if you use a paint strainer like I did here, it's going to make it like brand new. Oh, and don't forget to add a little bit of Floetrol to the paint. That's going to help with eliminating brush marks, roller marks. It kind of makes the door look like it's been sprayed. Not 100%, the sprayer does look better. But if you do add that Floetrol, it's going to help out a little bit. And here I'm just going to use my brush to paint in those corners. Luckily, the door and the casing were already primed, so I didn't need to prime them. I am using a semi-gloss paint that the homeowners had. That's usually the sheen I recommend on trim, either a semi-gloss or a gloss. And after you apply the first coat, let it dry for about an hour. And then go ahead and apply the second coat and let that dry for about an hour. And now that it's dry, it's time to put up that hardware. And so if you want any of the tools or materials I used here in this video, just go to the link in my bio or video description, go to my Amazon storefront, and click on Painting Essentials. And that's pretty much it. Jalapeno Solutions. Boom!